Illegal contracts can have serious consequences in the legal world. Despite what many people believe, not all agreements are enforceable by law, even when both parties willingly consent. Today we're exploring what makes a contract illegal, the various types of illegal agreements, and the legal consequences that follow. An illegal contract is any agreement that violates existing laws or public policy. These contracts are considered null and void from the very beginning, meaning they have no legal effect whatsoever. How can a contract be proven illegal? The answer lies in the content of the agreement itself. Consider an employment contract for a poker dealer in a state where gambling is prohibited. This contract would be illegal because it requires the employee to engage in an activity that breaks the law. However, a contract to sell playing cards in that same state would typically be legal, even if the buyer intends to use them for gambling. A good rule of thumb is to ask, by engaging in this contract, are either of the parties doing something illegal? If yes, the contract is unenforceable. Common examples of illegal contracts include agreements for selling or distributing controlled substances, contracts for prostitution or gambling in jurisdictions where these activities are prohibited, and contracts employing underage workers. Looking at a more nuanced example, a person may legally purchase equipment that could be used to take drugs. However, if the vendor made a contract to help set up a device specifically for taking drugs, that crosses into illegal territory. Beyond explicitly breaking the law, some contracts are illegal because they violate public policy and fair dealing. These include forced labor agreements and contracts that prevent fair market competition. In the real world, illegal contracts appear in many forms. Non-compete agreements that violate antitrust laws by unreasonably restricting someone from working in their field can be deemed illegal. Bribery agreements involving the exchange of money to influence public officials are always illegal. Contracts involving fraudulent practices, such as falsifying financial records, are unenforceable. Agreements with unlicensed individuals to perform regulated work, like medical procedures or legal services, may also be illegal. Even contracts designed to circumvent immigration laws, such as marriage solely for citizenship purposes, can be ruled illegal. What happens if someone breaches an illegal contract? Unlike legal contracts, no legal action can be taken if a party fails to fulfill their obligations under an illegal agreement. Using our earlier example, if an employer failed to pay the poker dealer working in a state where gambling is illegal, the dealer would have no legal recourse to recover those wages. While courts generally refuse to enforce illegal contracts, there are rare exceptions. Under the principle of severability, if only part of a contract is illegal, but the rest is lawful, a court might enforce the legal portions. In cases where one party is significantly less at fault, perhaps being misled or coerced, the court may allow them to recover damages. And in limited circumstances, courts may provide relief if voiding the contract entirely would harm the public interest. It's important to distinguish illegal contracts from invalid contracts. Invalid contracts involve situations where both parties must be aware of what they're agreeing to. Grounds for invalidating otherwise legal contracts include lack of capacity, such as contracts with children or people with certain mental disabilities, misinterpretation of terms in a way that harms one party, and misrepresentation or fraud, where one party deliberately deceives the other. Sometimes contracts that were legal when signed become unenforceable due to changing circumstances. This can happen due to impossibility of performance, such as when a natural disaster makes fulfilling the contract impossible. Frustration of purpose occurs when the fundamental reason for the contract no longer exists, like renting a venue for an event that gets canceled. And if new legislation passes that makes the agreed-upon activity illegal after the contract was executed, the contract becomes unenforceable from that point forward. After entering into an illegal contract, you cannot take legal action to recover losses. This is why consulting with a qualified attorney before signing any questionable agreement is essential. An experienced lawyer can identify potential legal issues before they become problems, saving you significant time, money, and frustration in the long run. Understanding the nuances of contract law helps protect your interests and ensures your agreements stand on solid legal ground. When in doubt, professional legal advice is always the safest path forward.